Alright, what's going on everybody? Amaze the Storyteller here. I really want to bring up this discussion because I want to know how you guys feel about it. Obviously, you've read the title. Let me know what you think about it in the comments section below. I think Haki ruined One Piece. Alright, sorry, I keep playing with the camera. I think Haki was one of the worst developments we've had in the story of One Piece ever. And I'm going to bring up a few reasons why. Number one, Haki was never a physical manifestation of might. It used to be a more spiritual, more like will-based power-up that characters could have. And it took the first manifestation as Conqueror's Haki. Okay, keep that in mind. It wasn't armament first. The first introduction we had that was labeled the Haki was, I believe, in Sabaody. And if it wasn't Sabaody, it was definitely in the War Arc. It was not in Skypiea with Mantra. No, that wasn't Haki. That was a special thing Skypieans could do back then. Now we know it as Haki, but back then it wasn't. Haki was supposed to be a spirit of will to help you combat your opponents, okay? Now it's this physical manifestation like I have behind me with fucking Jinbei blacking out and roiding out and fucking this armor, you know, and I get that like the black coating, the coat of arms is not necessarily physical. Maybe you can't see it, maybe it's invisible, whatever. It's still not originally what it was meant to be. And the reason I hate Haki so much is because I love the old power system, guys. It was perfect, okay? For an example, remember the bad villains in the East Blue that we now think are trash, like Kuro, Arlong, Don Krieg. Those guys, though, were fucking amazing, which captivated our attention in One Piece because of the creativity they had as power-ups. Don Krieg had the weapons and strength. Remember, he had that 2-ton fucking spear, alright? Don Krieg was not a weak by any standard, okay? And then we had Kuro, who was able to semi-teleport around. We know it as Soru now, an early Soru, but he was able to, like, zoom about. So these early iteration of One Piece characters is what made us fall in love with the pirate world. It was creative, it was new and refreshing. Now any pirates can get their rocks off just by like squeezing really hard and squeezing their face muscles until they freaking turn black and just start beating the shit out of each other. Excuse me, it's not the same. It's nowhere near where it used to be. The introduction of devil fruits was huge. That was like the cornerstone of One Piece power scaling. We understood that there were 3 types of devil fruits, and those are what you could get a hold of, and now there's Haki on top of it. There's a reason why, and we'll get into that later, but I want to bring up the fact that One Piece was far more intriguing back before we had Haki implemented. We had cooler characters, cooler power systems, and the fact that your main character, Luffy, could beat characters who were objectively stronger than him, like Crocodile. Crocodile had a better devil fruit, he had more knowledge on how to use the devil fruit, and he effectively killed Luffy 3 times, but because of Luffy's determination and will not to give up, stolen from Naruto, just kidding, One Piece came out first, they had the determination to be able to bounce back from everlasting odds. Odds that should have crushed them into submission. But instead, we now have Haki, which is a cheat code to everything in One Piece. If you have Ryo Haki, you can beat about every character prior to the time skip. There's not a single character that would have survived, including Crocodile. Okay? Now in the post-time skip, characters have the same ability, if not stronger abilities, so it's a little more fair, but the thing is, it's not the same One Piece. Okay? If you look at pre-time skip, Roku Shiki was awesome. Okay, it showed the limits of human capabilities, and if you go back and watch Kuro, it was concepts that had already been in existence, okay? So it was kind of like an early iteration of Haki, but it made more sense because it came about through training. Haki's a manifestation of will, and so when you take that, it makes it more, less tangible. Okay, it's hard to fathom what more will looks like, especially as a fan. You're putting yourself in Luffy's shoes. You don't know how to actually bond with a character when they have a power that doesn't really make any sense. Devil fruits, you get a transaction. You eat it, you get something in return. Now, I understand it's a manga and anime, and you're not necessarily going to be like, I have these powers, I can do that too, and it's relatable. it can still be relatable, and you have Haki, which it still is now, but I think Haki just watered down all of One Piece. And this is a pretty popular opinion. I think a lot of OG One Piece fans that have been watching it since it came out in Toonami and even prior to feel the exact same way. And I think it would look very different. The One Piece world itself would look very different if we kept Haki out of the equation. An example of what I think it would look like is actually more detailed devil fruits. I think mythical zones are awesome. I think zone transformations are awesome. In fact, I'd love to see more zones within the story, even now, even after we have ancient zones and mythical zones that are introduced, Luffy being one of them, spoiler alert. And I think it would still be an awesome thing to see more Paramecias. I'll never forget, guys. And I'm going to take you back into early One Piece. I'll never forget sitting at home watching Toonami on Saturday night, seeing fucking Eric. Do you guys remember Eric? Eric was that dude who was like a weasel, and he had fingernails, and he would blow on his fingernails and make whirlwinds. I thought that was a freaking awesome fruit because he's slicing up fucking warships. He's like, I'm slicing these things up. And that was super cool because it showed the dynamic and creativity of what devil fruits could be. And then you have Blackbeard using his darkness fruit, and we're still talking about it. Even with a power system like Haki, we're still talking about what devil fruits people could have. Isn't that wild? That's how cool devil fruits are, and I wish they had stayed as the focal point of One Piece. Now it's a little, like I said, it's less tangible because everything's Haki based. And the way characters are being scaled up in terms of villains, the way villains are being scaled up, is just they have stronger Haki. Why is Big Mom untouchable? Well, she has badass Haki. She has a badass devil fruit. I normally forget she has a devil fruit. When I'm playing One Piece Treasure Cruise, I never see it. Instead, I see her Haki up and smash somebody in the face. Okay? Kaido's the same way. Kaido releases electrical sparks. Yeah, he has the mythical Ua Ua no Mi, but most of it's fucking shenanigans from Haki when he's smashing Luffy's face in. So I think we focus more on Haki. It's less fun as a story. I think that's why now, and spoiler alert, we're going to get into the most recent chapters, 1065, 1066, so on and so forth. I think that's why Oda's introducing the top echelon to have devil fruits, like Im-sama and the Gorosei. Like, it would be so much less fun if they just had OP Haki. Now, I am not a supreme Haki hater. I like the concept as a kind of endgame idea. And what I mean by that is, I'm going to paint this picture for you. Let's say Luffy never knew about Haki in the story. Okay, and we never had the 2-year time skip. Instead, what we had was Kuma teleporting everybody, and them having, let's say, a 1 year, or it could be 2-year again, time skip, but instead they focus on awakening their devil fruit. Would that be any less satisfying? I don't think so. I think it would be more satisfying. And what if Luffy comes out of the gates with Gear 4th, Gear 5th, because he focused on his awakening? It would look pretty much the same. But instead we focused on Haki, which is cool, and I think Haki is a big part of what comes through a Devil Fruit Awakening. And I think we'll find that out later if we haven't already. I don't remember. But the main thing that I really want us to understand is that One Piece greatness does not come from this power scaling of Haki. It came from the creativeness that started the story in the first place. A rubber man trying to take on the unachievable odds of becoming the Pirate King. That's what we fell in love with. And as we progressed through the story, we saw major Devil Fruit changes. We saw Luffy going up against a fucking Logia user that can turn into sand and slice shit up and dry people out. And then we saw him go right up against another one who can turn into fucking lightning. And he still won both of those. Against all odds, any other person would have died. But because of Luffy's will and determination and his creativeness with the Devil Fruit doing like UFO and Gumma Gumma Balloon, that kind of stuff was cool and it captivated our attention. Now what we have to look forward to is this. You guys like that? I'll do it again. Watch. It's not the same. It's cool for about 5 seconds and then it loses its flavor. Charging up Haki is always exciting for characters like Zoro, like Sanji, and like Luffy until it's overused, right? And Haki is still relatively fresh. I mean, we had the 2-year time skip. We've seen it through Dressrosa. We've had it for almost a decade, don't get me wrong, but it still feels somewhat new because of how long pre-time skip One Piece was in comparison. So, I don't think Haki is necessary. I don't think it was ever necessary. And I think the story would have been much better with the absence of Haki. I think if we focused on Devil Fruits, Ace would still be alive. Sabo would have never needed to exist, because fuck Sabo. I'm sorry, he's the worst excuse of a character on the planet. He doesn't need to exist. Imagine if Ace fucking came through and fought in the Great War and they survived together and Ace helped fight back against Kaido. That would be cool if Ace was a reoccurring character in the One Piece story, am I right? Like, we saw Ace in Alabasta, and we don't see him again until he gets fucking captured in Marineford. That's bullshit. And then you introduce Sabo and Dressrosa because you regret what you did with Ace. I could make a whole video about that, and trust me, I'm fucking going to, because fuck Sabo. Now you guys know how I feel about that. But the iteration of Haki is bullshit, and it's a tap out. It's just a way to be less creative with the creativeness we fell in love with as the story of One Piece. And I think as fans, we need to voice that more. And I think Oda understands that very well. And I think that's why he's transitioning into making really cool Devil Fruits, really cool Mythical Zone fruits. And I think, like, we have the Clay fruit guy, who's a Logia user, which is really cool. Korosu, we just found out, is a fucking Soot fruit user. So we're getting cooler Devil Fruits now that we're in the endgame of One Piece. But my question is, why the fuck should Haki exist? And I'm not saying retcon it. It's too late now. Haki exists, is cool, it's whatever, but it never needed to in the first place. And I want you guys to really, like, sit down and think about what One Piece could have been without Haki. I think it could have been much better. I think I would have been sold, and I think there would have been a lot cooler fights using the creativity of Devil Fruits. Now, I'm not a mangaka, I'm not an author, and as a caveat, I think it's very hard to draw these things and to do it consistently well. And I think it was a question of burnout. Would you get burnt out from drawing the creative freaking Devil Fruits in the world, or would you get burnt out coloring and shading things black? It's a lot that goes into being a mangaka and a creative writer, and I think that there are reasons why Haki exists, and I don't think it has to do with the story. I think it's more of a business orientation, marketing, that kind of thing. And it sounds ridiculous, but it's huge in Japanese culture, and I think it really binds to this idea that there's a mythical force behind determination. And this brings me back, and I'll wrap this up here. This brings me back to the fight against Don Krieg. One of my favorite fights in One Piece. Mostly because it was when I was first introduced to One Piece, was during the Bartier arc. I missed the first, like, first third of One Piece. But that fight, Don Krieg was actually pretty sinister, right? He had this poisonous gas. He had a cape made of spikes. It was terrifying. But Luffy persevered off of sheer will, and that made Sanji get off of his ass and actually participate against Gin. So again, Haki is not a necessity within the story, and I would actually like to see in the upcoming final arcs a little bit less Haki and a little bit more of the original creative determination that we fell in love with. Now guys, just a quick reminder as One Piece fans, Oda's going to be out for about a month, maybe more, doesn't matter. We'll give him all the time he needs. He's having eye surgery, in case you guys did not know that. So if not, if anything else, just tune into my channel. I'm going to be making more One Piece videos. I promise I'm going to get better at editing, so a lot of these stutters are going to be cut out. But that's it for today, guys. Let me know your thoughts if you like Haki, if you think it should stay within the One Piece story, or let me know what you envision the One Piece world looking looking like without the presence of Haki in the story. Because I think it would look totally different. I think Ace would still be alive. We wouldn't need Sabo anymore. I think a lot of the same events could still play out, but I think a lot of things could be different too. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. Please do not forget to like and subscribe. I am trying to get to 200 subscribers before August. Let's make that happen, guys. I love you all so much. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.